Following a 5-month-long break, ABA League is back in full throttle. Crvena Zvezda, Budućnost and Partizan are undefeated after 4 rounds, while Macedonian MZT and Karpoš remain winless. Jako Vladović is back with the team he won the regional competition 13 years ago. And as before, we round out our review with top 5 plays from the first 4 rounds. Welcome to ABA Magazine. Following a winless streak, MZT made a number of moves. Stefan Sinovic was brought back for the third spell with the champions of Macedonia. Coach Emil Rajkovic resigned, and the management terminated contracts with Americans Tori Thomas and Jeremiah Messi. Changes were made in Karpoš Sokoli as well. The newcomers parted ways with the American Lamont Mack, who averaged only 6 points per game with terrible field goal percentage. Serbian under-20 national team member Petar Rakicevic signed a 3-year contract with Crvena Zvezda. Rakicevic parted ways with Metalac after a disappointing season and will once again share the locker room with Guduric and Rebic, with whom he won the European Championship the previous summer. Another former member of Metalac and Serbian national team, Jovan Novak, is back in ABA League. Talented point guard made his debut for Megalex in a loss to Crvena Zvezda at Aleksandar Nikolić Hall. It's safe to say that the defending champion left the best impression in the early stages of the competition. Dejan Radonjic's team beat all 4 rivals by no less than 20 points. Even more impressive is the fact that the 2 of those teams made the playoffs last season, Cedevita and Megalex. The team from Belgrade leads the league in scoring with 95 points per game, with extremely high field goal percentages. They average 11 3-pointers per game with 42% success rate. Speaking of the offensive prowess, they have averaged 22 assists per game with less than 10 turnovers. Defensively, they are as good as ever, and it's easy to see why Crvena Zvezda remains a favorite to three-peat as the ABA League champion. Already familiar with Coach Radonjic's playing style, Charles Jenkins took no time to get back in the groove, while the newcomers Kuzmic and Bjelica fit in perfectly. Red and Whites have shown a team-first mentality, highlighted by Stefan Jovic's 16 assists against Cedevita. Acquisition of well-known names such as Marcus Williams, Sean James, J.R. Reynolds, Boris Savovic and Nemanja Gordic made Budućnost a top 4 candidate in the preseason. Reins of the team were given to a first-time coach, Vlado Šćepanović. Even with a solid roster as this one, it was a rocky start to the season as injuries to the team captain Suat Šehović, Reynolds and Gordic put a dent in the team's rotation. Out of the 3, Gordic will be out for the longest period of time. Still, the champion of Montenegro managed to beat Cedevita in Zagreb in the opening round. The win gave the team confidence and led him down the right path. They made it look easy in wins over Zadar, Megalex and Krka. With the injured players coming back, the team will only get better. giving everyone a reason for joy and optimism in the ranks of the team that entered the playoffs as a top seed the previous season. Partizan may just be the most pleasant surprise of the season, but keep in mind this is after all the club with the most regional championship titles won. But with all the new faces in the black and white jerseys, 4 wins in 4 games, 3 of them away, does come as a surprise. Aleksandar Džekic's team pulled off a victory against Mornar in Bar after a hard-fought battle. Partizan kept improving, mainly on offense, and the winning ways continued against MZT in Skopje, Cibona at home and Karpoš away. With a huge support from their fans in every game, most notably at home against Cibona, newcomers Birčević, Luković, Majstorović and Ratkovica made quite an impression, but William Hatcher shone the brightest. American point guard averaged 20 points and 5 assists per game, establishing himself as the leader of the pack. Former PAOK player found his stroke from the distance, dropping at least 3 three-pointers per game, all with a 50% success rate from downtown. Cibona is another team that can be proud of their season so far. Financial problems influenced the roster in more ways than one, yet again. But despite the hardships, Damir Mulomerovic's team grabbed 3 wins, with the only loss coming from Partizan in Belgrade. Cibona has the most dominant front court so far. Croatian national team member Željko Šakić was a great addition, but the spotlight is most definitely on Ante Žižić. Young center made an impressive improvement compared to his rookie season last year, and blossomed into one of the most dominant players in the ABA League. He is the league's MVP so far, top scorer and leading rebounder. In the double overtime win over MZT in Skopje, he had one of the best individual performances in the history of ABA League. Žižić led his team to victory with incredible 37 points, 20 rebounds and 56 value index points. With an unimpressive pre-season, Igokea didn't seem destined for the top part of the leaderboard. The team failed to qualify for the FIBA Champions League with a second-leg defeat from Mornar in Bar, followed by a loss to Cibona in the home opener. But a slow start hasn't wavered Dragan Bajic's team, and their winning streak began in the away game against Karpoš, continued in a dramatic clash with Olimpija, and their third win came against FNP to boost the team's confidence before a number of games against the heavily favored opponents. Along with the ABA League veterans Albijanić, Mahkovic and Rikic, Americans Robinson and Fortenberry made quite an impression, keeping Igokea in the conversation for the top seeds in the competition. Croatian champion j.t.d, a mainstay among the top teams in the league, suffered a number of changes when it comes to the roster. Names that stand out are Scottie Hobson, Rashad James, Mirza Begic and David Stockton, the son of great John Stockton, Hall of Famer and a member of the original US Dream Team. Management was very proud of the fact that they've also managed to keep both Croatian national team members Babic and Bilan. But the start was far from perfect, as the team suffered defeats against their rivals for the top of the table, Budućnost and Crvena Zvezda. Coach Veljko Mršić was unsatisfied with the team's effort, to say the least, especially following a crushing defeat in Belgrade. Alarm bell went off and the team responded with a win against MZT. Cedevita entered the record books with the largest blowout in ABA League's history when Zadar was defeated 120-62 in the 4th round. The non-existing three-point game seems to be the largest obstacle in their path to the championship. Scottie Hobson seems to be the most likely player to help improve the team's mediocre 25% from the three-point range. Team's top scorer in the preseason made only one three-pointer in 4 games and shot 3 for 20 from the field in the first 2 games. Performance against Zadar seems to indicate that the Hobson and the team's offense is finally picking up steam. After a long absence, FMP is back in the ABA League, with mixed results so far. This is not the club that won 2 championships in the previous decade. A young and upcoming team with a talented roster was wildly inconsistent in the first 4 games back. The team could have easily won more than 2 games. They let one slip away in the first round in Zadar. They made up for the loss with important wins over Mega at home and Krka in Novo Mesto. A positive run was terminated by Igokea in Železnik. The team's leader Filip Čović leads the league in assists, averaging 9 per game. The most valuable player after 4 rounds, however, is former Sutjeska's captain Nikola Žižić, while Stefan Lazarević managed to position himself as one of the league's top rebounders with more than 9 per game, along with an outstanding defensive performance on a daily basis. Zadar's point guard Jakov Vladović is one of the most experienced players in the league. Back with the team he helped win the championship in 2003, he reminisces on the very first days of his career. It was a long time ago, 15 years ago. It wasn't easy in the beginning. But we won a few trophies in that period of time, and I remember those days fondly. It was a long and winding road from there on. I spent the next 2 years in Zagreb, winning the very first trophy in the club's history. It's something that I'm very proud of. What followed was a year in Russia, but I promptly returned to Zadar. Široki Brijeg, Ljubljana, Lithuania, Zagreb, and now I'm back in Zadar. Being the veteran with the most ABA League seasons under his belt, Vladović has an invaluable input to the quality and the significance of ABA League for the basketball in the region. Ever since it was founded, ABA League had an important place in the development of the young players in the region. Every game is important, better, tougher than the games in the National League. It has an important place, but I believe it's important to keep the domestic championships relevant. Surprises are often and abound in ABA League. Zadar delivered one in 2003, grabbing the championship ring ahead of Crvena Zvezda and Maccabi. Vladović fondly remembers the magical Final Four in Ljubljana. Easily one of the biggest surprises in the history of ABA League. But we had a great team that season. We played really well throughout the regular part of the season. We had character as a team. We decided we wouldn't be just participating at the Final Four. We wanted to win. The game with Crvena Zvezda was a must-see. It was historic. They went up. The delay, we pulled off a comeback with a game winner from the corner. The championship game with Maccabi, there is nothing left to say. Marko Popović played an unforgettable game. The whole team played well, but he was unbelievable. Zadar has forever been a hotbed of talent. Vladović had the opportunity to play with and learn from some of the best in the game, but now assumes the mantle of the leader, helping the younger teammates make best of their talent. I've never been in a situation like this before. All these guys are so much younger than me.
kao što sam prije rekao,
They're talented, they're willing to work hard. They just need a chance to play, and I think they will do okay.
Priliku i dati im da odigraju nešto, pa ćemo vidjeti.
What made Zadar the basketball capital of Europe?
Cijeli grad.
The whole town loves basketball, lives for basketball 24/7. It has always been the number one sport in Zadar without competition. It's a non-stop love for basketball that makes Zadar what it is.
Najkošarkaških gradova na svijetu, kao ga vole ljudi zvati. One of two ABA League's newcomers this season hails from Bar. Mornar qualified for the regional competition with a fantastic performance in the National Championship of Montenegro. Team did earn a lot of experience in other regional leagues, and their ambitions were evident in the elimination of Igokea in FIBA Champions League qualifier. But those two games left a mark on the team. The lack of rest was evident as the team grabbed only one win. During the premiere against Partizan, Jones had a shot for the win, and they lost in the final seconds of the game in Zagreb against Cibona. First win for Georgije Pavicevic's team came against Karpoš, and this obviously tired squad had put an end to the accelerated tempo with defeat against Olimpija in the away game in Tivoli. Last year's finalists Megalex returns with the youngest roster once more. The team's core from the previous season mostly left, and it seems Dejan Milojevic's team is still looking for its new identity and leaders beyond Rade Zagorac. Mega's former top weapon, their aggressive defense, is now the team's main flaw, allowing their opponents 90 points per game during the first 4 rounds. With such a performance on defense while still struggling to find rhythm on offense, it's no wonder they've managed to win only one game. The lone win came in the first round after they turned the game around against Olimpija. Crisis began with a defeat against FNP, continued with failures against top-ranked Budućnost and Crvena Zvezda. Mega has issues on offense, with the execution and field goal percentage at an all-time low. To top it all, the schedule isn't working in the team's favor either, because Cedevita arrives in Sremska Mitrovica next weekend. Still, it should be expected that this young squad will improve as the season continues. One should always take in consideration the financial situation in Zadar when the team's results are under the microscope. Two important additions are still unavailable due to the suspension from FIBA, so what's left is a young, inexperienced squad with a short bench. Jakov Vladovic is a veteran that stands out, along with Lovro Mazalin, a player on loan from Cedevita. The leader in the first two games was Ivan Marinkovic, who gets the credit for the one win of Zadar's team against FNP in the first round. Ante Matulovic's men suffered defeats against the top-ranked team, but the point differentials against Crvena Zvezda and Cedevita must have hurt the supporters. Unless something changes in the financial department, Zadar's ambitions this season will be to avoid relegation. With participation in ABA League uncertain during the off-season, it's no surprise that a completely reinvented team has started the season in Ljubljana under the watchful eye of coach Gasper Okorn. The original ABA League champion has so far played 3 games, with the matchup against Krka postponed due to conflicting schedules. Their first win came in an empty Tivoli against Mornar. Olimpija suffered a near and frustrating loss against Mega. Their game in Laktaši was even more dramatic, and Igokea came out a winner, up by a point only. The team is far from being completely formed, but Brandon Jefferson is definitely a standout. He is the league's top 3-point shooter, averaging 4 per game. Krka has undergone a major roster overhaul in the off-season as well, and stands at a 1-2 record so far. Coach Dejan Mihevc led his new team to its sole victory against Karpoš, and their 2 losses came against FNP and Budućnost. Judging by their defeats, Krka's problem this season could be efficiency. They scored only 60 points per game and missed a number of free throws. Sandi Čebular was brought in to be a leader, paired up with Matic Reberc. They form a sharpshooting duo. The newcomer from MZT, Marko Lukovic, is adapting well, but the schedule is not favoring Krka. In the next round, they will have to face the defending champion Crvena Zvezda, and immediately after that, they will travel to Zagreb to face j.t.d. Karpoš Sokoli's debut season is going far from well. Coach Sinić Matic had a short time to form a squad, centered around seasoned veterans Dragan Labović, Uroš Tuvnjak, Zoran Vrkić and Dragan Zeković. Unlike Kendrick Perry, Lamont Mack didn't live up to the expectations and the club decided to part ways. Karpoš is winless with losses to Krka, Igokea, Mornar and Partizan. However, they held their ground against the black and white team until the very end, and this performance gave them hope that their first triumph is just around the corner. While the struggles of Karpoš were to be expected, none could have predicted that Karpoš would be sharing the last place with their city rival, MZT. The club from Skopje hasn't managed a single win, despite professing their ambitions to fight for the top 4. They brought in a couple of American players as well as a Dutch international, Charlon Kloff. After the first defeat against Crvena Zvezda, the 30-point deficit against Partizan in Jane Sandanski Hall, it was obvious the team is not heading in the right direction. Further proof came in the form of a 20-point deficit against j.t.d. MZT missed a chance to finish their best game of the season with a win against Cibona. After double overtime, the team from Zagreb came out victorious in Skopje. The coach took the blame for the results. Emil Rajković resigned, and the club fired Americans Thomas and Massey. Aleksandar Jončevski will take over until a new coach is appointed, and Stefan Sinovic has come back to try to help his old club. Our top 5 plays review from the first 4 rounds starts in Zadar, where Stefan Jovic demonstrated his ball handling skills, assisting Dangubic for a beautiful slam dunk. Dejan Davidovac with a steal and a strong finish, assisted by Filip Čović in FNP's win over Megalex. It was a heartbreaking loss for MZT against Partizan, but Kloff made sure Robinson didn't get an easy layup. Vanja Marinkovic is well known as a lethal shooter, but the Partizan's guard knows how to finish strong at the rim as well. j.t.d. stood no chance in Belgrade, but Rashad James made quite an impression with the most spectacular play of the season so far.